but also a race for mastery of the sky and the rain, the ocean and the tide, the far side of space, and the inside of men's minds. Mastery of the sky and the rain, of the sky and the rain, of the sky and the rain, sky and the rain, and the inside of men's minds.
It all starts with Coke. You begin by asking yourself, is Coke Coke? You realize it is a question that has never been asked, which means it has never been answered. Thus, no one knows. Of course, the people who make Coke know whether it is or it isn't. But then again, maybe they do not. They either know and are in on the secret, or they don't have a clue and are blind to the truth. But you understand, if Coke isn't Coke, then there must be other things that aren't what they are. Everything is conspiracy. The events that occurred on September 11, 2001 are as follows. At 7:59 a.m., George Bush detains American Airlines Flight 11 at Logan Airport in Boston. At 8:14 a.m., George Bush detains United Airlines Flight 175 at the same airport. At 8:20 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 is detained at Dulles International Airport in Northern Virginia by George Bush. The planes are promptly destroyed. The passengers and crew are never seen again. At 8:42 a.m., United Airlines Flight 93 departs from Newark International Airport. A U.S. fighter jet is sent to trail it, piloted by George Bush. At 8:46 a.m., George Bush sends a missile into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The missile is surrounded by a hologram designed to look exactly like American Airlines Flight 11. At 9:03 a.m., a second missile is sent into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The missile is surrounded by a hologram of United Airlines Flight 175. At 9:37 a.m., a third missile is sent into the Pentagon. The missile is surrounded by a hologram of American Airlines Flight 77. Prior to the event, on September 12th, George Bush rigs explosives inside World Trade Center's buildings 1, 2, and 7. At 9:59 a.m., the explosives within the South Tower are activated, causing it to collapse by controlled demolition. At 10:03 a.m., George Bush shoots down United Airlines Flight 93 over Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where it disintegrates upon impact. At 10:28 am, the explosives within the North Tower are activated, collapsing the tower. At 5:21 pm, George Bush also demolishes World Trade Center Building 7. This is what is believed to have occurred on 9/11. This is all a lie.
Most controversial one of them all, the one that gets most talked about, the most criticism, the most support for it, moon landing 1969, and those famous words, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But did it really happen? No.
There are many coincidences surrounding 9/11, some of which may not be coincidences at all. The United States Emergency Services telephone number is 911. The number of days from the beginning of the year to September 11 is 296. The number of days from September 11 to the end of the year is 152. The number of days it has been since September 11, 2001 is 4,388. The total number of dust particles created when the North Tower collapsed was the total amount created when the South Tower collapsed was the total amount created when Building 7 collapsed was the total amount created when the side of the Pentagon collapsed was
I found numerological coincidences before, but I don't think I've ever found them quite like this before. It was sort of as if all the chaos of that tragic day was ordered in some kind of secret way, and everything seemed to point to that number, 9/11. I mean, think about it. You can just say 9/11, people automatically know what you're talking about. It's not too much to fathom. I remember showing one of my friends. After seeing it, she told me right away that I was onto something, and that I had helped her think a little differently, and that I should continue doing what I was doing. And that's why Obama's the Antichrist.
Missiles surrounded by holographic planes did not hit the Twin Towers. Real planes hit the towers. If you look closely, a plane-shaped hole is left in Building 2. Missiles on holograms do not leave this sort of hole. For example, the wall pictured here has been damaged by a missile. The hole does not look like a plane. Instead, it looks like an oval. A hologram has gone through this wall. It has left behind no hole. This is because a hologram is not actually made of solid material, but is rather made of light. Walls, on the other hand, are solid. So when a plane goes through a building, it will leave a plane-shaped hole. But if a hologram were to go through a building, it would do nothing.
The gravity of the moon is much less than the Earth. So if you were to go on the moon, you'd need a suit with magnets on your foot to keep you grounded. Otherwise, you're going to just float up in the air. So going back to that, if you're going to try and land on the moon, technology back then, I don't think they would have had that kind of technology for the boots to have some sort of magnetic device to keep them down. Because you're going to be hopping around on the moon.
Now that we know what would happen if a holographic plane were to collide with a building, let's take a closer look at the footage of Flight 175 as it hits the South Tower in super slow motion. As the plane makes contact with the building, it begins to go through the wall and windows in front of it. This means it is solid and is inconsistent with the data we have on holograms. If the plane were truly a hologram, this is what would have happened. During the course of our research, we corresponded with hologram specialist Tigley Smith over email, asking whether a holographic plane could collide with a building and leave behind a plane-shaped hole. He had this to say.
Also, when the shuttle landed, there was no crater underneath. That should have made an impact as they were coming down with all the jet fumes and the flames coming down as it was touching down. Should have made a little crater. Disturbed the sand somehow, like a little circle around there. But there was nothing there. Looked like it was just flat, like the rest of the ground. It was right there. There was no crater at all.
Explosives did not collapse the Twin Towers. They fell on their own due to what is referred to as the pancake effect. If you take a look at a single floor of a building, it can be compared to a pancake. A pancake is a thin, flat cake cooked with a batter of flour, milk, and eggs in a frying pan. If a building were to pancake, each upper floor that fell onto a lower floor would expel all the windows, giving the appearance of an explosion going off.
But you see in the footage, you see the flag flying. How can the flag fly when there's no air? Like on Earth, alright fine, wind goes around. On Earth, our wind is generated by the trees. If you have no trees, no plants, it'd just be like the moon. So
the same is true for Building 7, whose fall only looked like a controlled demolition. There's evidence that this was not planned. Once the Twin Towers had pancaked, they created a chain reaction which hit and weakened the half of the building closest to the towers. Unfortunately, a fire entered the other side of the building. It burned over 1500 degrees Celsius for hours, weakening the steel frame which had been holding up the stronger side. Once both sides of the building had been weakened, they started to fall in on each other, crashing down one half at a time, demolishing themselves.
a UFO is called an unidentified flying object. That's what they classed it as. That's what they say. It's a UFO. So, do you want to know the meaning? That is the meaning. Unidentified flying object.
Since the Twin Towers were hit by real planes, it only makes sense that the attack on the Pentagon followed the same theme. But the two holes left over are not in the shape of a plane. They are in the exact shape of a hole that a missile would create upon impact. The problem is, a missile can't leave two holes. A plane can, but why aren't the holes plane-shaped? A plane-shaped hole always has a circular hole in the center and two horizontal rectangles protruding to the sides. The Pentagon did not have these side protruding holes. What this shows us is that it was hit by a plane without any wings. This means that the plane must have been travelling so fast that it started to burn up in midair, becoming a fireball. It was this that caused the wings to be burnt off, sending only the burning body towards the Pentagon's outer wall. This impact further weakened the plane as it continued to burn through the Pentagon, searing through a second interior wall and causing the plane to finally disintegrate in the flames, leaving no evidence of itself behind.
How are they going to build a perfectly shaped pyramid, especially when they didn't have the advancements that we have today with the tools and everything, and heavy equipment to lift up the rock and chisels and that? All they had was primitive tools, logs, maybe little chisels or something like that. They didn't have anything to lift it heavy, and these stones were huge, heavy. I'm talking heavy. You need a lot of people to lift it up. I mean, they were that heavy, you need a crane.
Finally, the plane that fell in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, could not have been shot out of the sky by a US fighter jet. All that was left over from the crash was a large, charred hole in the soil, meaning the plane completely obliterated itself upon impact. This cannot happen if a plane has lost control. It can only happen if it is forced into the ground, meaning the plane was fully operational when it fell. Judging by the path it had taken, if the plane had not crashed, it would have flown directly towards the US Capitol building or the White House. So, who stopped this from happening? The law of probability states that the passengers must have realized they were going to die, and that the plane they were flying in was going to be used to cause more death, so had decided to stop this and instead let it crash into an open field where nobody else would get hurt. If this is so, it means that the passengers of United Airlines Flight 93 are heroes and had saved many lives that day by their heroic sacrifice.
They're saying that the aliens helped them to design and build, gave them the knowledge to build it. They showed them how to move these heavy stones in a way that they can lift them up with their primitive tools to design these pyramids.
So, who is responsible for 9/11? 10 years after the tragedy, a man named Osama bin Laden is killed in Abbottabad, Pakistan. This may seem insignificant, but an internet search on Osama reveals that he was the founder and leader of Al-Qaeda, an Islamic terrorist organization. This is not a coincidence. It means 9/11 was a terrorist attack all along. It also turns out that Osama bin Laden is connected to the incredibly wealthy bin Laden family. This explains why everybody believes that George Bush created 9/11. They were paid off by the bin Laden family to protect Osama and Al-Qaeda and to instead perpetuate a conspiracy. So, even though it is poetic justice that Osama bin Laden died 10 years later, Al-Qaeda is still at large and still very dangerous. People have always looked to the sky for answers, wondering, what's up there? How did we get here? Who are we? What is the meaning of life? Try to answer them right now. You're wrong. The people who are asking these questions are asking the wrong questions. The direction that they've been looking in while asking these questions, though, has always been correct. The sky does hold the answers. Have you ever looked up into the sky and wondered about the clouds you see up there? You should, because clouds explain everything. They are the reason you're here, the reason you do what you do, the reason you think the way you think. Clouds, I'm sorry to tell you, aren't real.
When we start January, we go all the way through to December. And once December finishes, we start a new year. Back to January again.
When I was making my first conspiracy film, titled Illuminatus Literalis, I was trying to find Illuminati symbols in everyday objects in order to prove how prevalent they are in everyday life. I started to see a lot of them in the cloud outside my house. So many that it became a pattern. I didn't understand it at the time, but as I found more of these patterns in the clouds, they started to reveal an evil origin behind them.
In the Hannah in Area 51, you have a specimen of the alien. And they're saying, no aliens here. There's no aliens. Who knows? You never know. Aliens could be walking amongst us now. You never know. Disguised as human beings. They have that. Aliens have way advancements in technology and.
Before we go any further, we have to go back to why we believe what we do about clouds. Back to the process that was taught to us at a very early and impressionable age by the government. It is a completely ridiculous theory. The process is officially titled the water cycle and proposes to give scientific reasoning for the existence of clouds. Before clouds can even exist, the sun shoots hot rays into the waters of all the oceans and rivers and lakes of the earth and turns it all into steam. This steam flies all the way up into the sky, almost into space. Because space is cold, and because the water is no longer being heated by the sun, it goes from hot to cold in a very short period, and in doing so, changes into clouds. This keeps happening, and more clouds begin to happen. When there are too many clouds in the sky, they become too heavy, and the sky lets go. As the clouds fall, they transform for a second time into either rain or ice. This final form falls back into the exact spot of the world from which it came. But it doesn't stop there. We are told that this is not a one-time event, but a cycle which begins over and over again, every day, without us ever noticing. It's incredibly preposterous. They could have told us anything at that age, and we would have believed it. In fact, they did. Have you ever seen any evidence of the water cycle? You'd think that all the scientists of the world are aware of this, and you'd be right. They are. Of course they are. They're just covering it up, because it disproves their own theories.
So I think in this way, when they've studied the aliens, they're not letting anyone know. And if you try to get to Area 51, their security is so much tight there, so tight you can't get through. You come up close within probably 200 meters, there's already a car coming down. If you get closer, they'll send a plane or something. They'll kill you. They won't let you in. You'll be a sacrifice.
So, if clouds aren't created naturally, how are they created? Artificially, in factories. These factories are everywhere. They are any regular looking factory that has smoke billowing out of its chimneys. Except that isn't smoke, it's clouds. Every single cloud you see in the sky has been created inside one of these factories and then sent into the sky. How do they do this? I'm not sure. But because of this need to hide in plain sight, great secrecy surrounds these factories.
I'm really tired of all this. I've known about these factories for a while. I know what goes on inside, and I know now what I shouldn't have known. So you know what I did? One day I went and checked one of these places out, mate, and I couldn't get in. And I'm prepared to testify before Congress on that.
And that's why these wars happen, because people get sick and tired of it, and so they start wars. To say, up you, because they don't like the government.
Take a look at this cloud. Pretend that you have never seen a cloud before, that the word cloud doesn't even exist. What is that? What on earth does it look like? This is where it gets interesting. That's not a cloud. It is a carbon dioxide released in my backyard. In fact, if you were to put photos of clouds and other chemical gases to the decolorization process and compare them, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. If we zoom into any of these clouds, you can see the tiny chemical particles. This means that clouds are a chemical gas. But the thing about chemicals is that they get into the oxygen. So every time you breathe, you're breathing cloud. This constant rush of chemicals into our system is what controls our body and brain makeup. This means we are not ourselves, nor have we ever been. Instead, we are the result of whatever these chemicals are doing to us. Think about it. Everything you know and feel and think today is due to clouds.
This isn't the way it's supposed to be. We're meant to be free. But the closer we get to freedom, the closer the shackles are to being put back on. It's modern slavery, it's ergo slavery. If you cannot breathe, you die. It's the most ingenious plot ever created.
Sometimes there are no clouds in the sky. I call these blue sky days. They only exist for one reason: regulation. They allow our bodies to detox from the chemicals, ensuring that people don't end up overdosing. or even worse, building an immunity to them. Without this constant exposure, people start to act differently. They become happier and more sociable. They spend more time outdoors. They begin acting in their natural state. The problem is, we're never allowed to completely detox. We never reach full consciousness, which means we're still under control. How do I know this? Because I have reached full consciousness. I have been without the influence of clouds for approximately 178 days. You cannot imagine what it is like.
You notice how we get older, our eyes get a little bit whiter, we get shorter, our skin gets more wrinkly. Maybe we, as we get older, start to progress to look more alien.
The life we're living is a complete lie, and all we know is the lie. Clouds are the ultimate cover-up. They block us from seeing the activities that take place over them, secret activities that couldn't be performed or even imagined without the use of clouds. They literally block us from the truth because we couldn't possibly know what the truth is. It explains everything. Everything we've learned, we learnt it and continue to learn it under the influence of clouds. Everything we know is false. Everything about religion, science, philosophy, art, everything. It was all conjured up. Clouds are the answer to everything because they stop us from knowing the answer to anything. Everybody who lived before clouds has died by now. Therefore, the knowledge they held no longer exists. There is no history because we can't possibly know what our real history is. We've only been told a history. So what's real then? We can't know. In fact, the knowledge that clouds aren't real is the only truth we have left.
Right. This is me son Jake. He's one. I don't want him growing up in a world filled with clouds, you hear me?
We're supposed to say end of the world. World will end. Aliens will come down and show themselves to us and take us to another planet. And these aliens were it was other ones that were supposedly 12 foot tall, like really tall, at the start of the human life, you know. They're saying, you know, but if God is an alien, you know, or something like that, you know, He created us, and maybe we're aliens.
I'm king, and they know it. When I snap my fingers, everybody says sure. I'm hot, and you're not. But if you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot. Top that.
No, I'm not in the mood. Oh my God.
You can dream until you blue, but you will never top that.
Let's go back the other way. No, just go up and talk to him. Are you kidding? I'm so embarrassed. Look at how funky he is. I will never be hip.
I'm hot, and you're not. But if you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot. Top that. Top that. You can do all that you can, but you'll never top that. Top that. Top that. You can do all that you can, but you'll never top that. Top that. So top
Supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected. Who would ever really want to go and top that? Such a waste of pretty face, but hanging in your nose space. I wish that you would take a look and really stop that. Top that. Well, stop that. I don't really give up about trying to top that. Top that. Stop that. I wish you finally take a real look and really stop that.
What's this?
Stop that.
What gives?
Top that. I don't really give a about trying to stop that.
Top that.
Big deal.
Stop that.
Unreal.
You can try to, you blue.
I will make a fool of you.
Top that.
Woo! Top that.
So, I think as human life has advanced and evolved, I believe we're gonna evolve even more. We evolve from when we're born into the world. We become so small, smaller than your hand, but yet incredibly our bodies expand, our bones expand. You wouldn't think so. Something from so small can be so big. we if we do good in our life, we go up to heaven. But where is heaven? If we do bad, we go to hell? Where is hell? Is it actually really what they had say in cartoons that you go down and there's like a fiery pit and there's the devil down there and his minions or heaven, is it in the clouds? You go up in the clouds and you see the pearly gates, you walk in.
Illuminati, a secret society do exist. Illuminati, Illuminati, a secret society do exist. Illuminati,
Burning in the melting pot, so when the devil wants to dance with you, you better say never, because a dance with the devil might last you forever. To be a big nigga, devil hit about me, 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 devil hit about me. See where I'm from, nigga, it's do or die.
And it's the same thing every time someone has a near-death experience. It's the same thing. It's a tunnel with a white light at the end, and these hands that come out to try and grab you, to stop you from going towards it. What's the meaning of it? What's with this tunnel and the light and hands trying to stop you? What does all this mean? It's one to look at. Makes you curious to be going to a hospital and say, listen, I want to see this light, so take my life for a couple of minutes. Let me see this light.
It's just that ever since Mufasa died, things just haven't been the fucking same.
Is this one time when I was dreaming, but then I woke up, but it felt like, and I was on my knees. I was waking up and I was like this, hands down, and all of a sudden I felt like something was pulling my leg. I was like, wow, that's weird. But I wasn't dreaming. I actually felt something pull on my leg. It's like someone's trying to, I was kneeling down and someone's like pulling on my leg.
So, what do these three subjects have to do with each other? Everything. Think about it for a moment. The Illuminati are trying to take over the world. They are doing so with music. But, if it's so easy for them to do this, then it only makes sense that they could pull off 9/11. If they could, it only goes to say that they would. But they wouldn't do it on their own. They would only employ the most powerful terrorist organization in the world, Al-Qaeda. In fact, they control them, which means the Illuminati caused 9/11. But how exactly are they able to do this? Easy. Through clouds. Because if they didn't make clouds, they would be breathing them, which means they make clouds. Well, not themselves. Musicians work in these factories, creating clouds. If this is the case, the Illuminati must be immune to these chemicals. That's why all depictions of the Illuminati show them wearing robes and masks. The robes allow them to move freely and undetected in the shadows, while also concealing all the mechanical systems underneath, protecting them from any chemicals they breathe, and providing them with a steady flow of oxygen. The Illuminati must be the only people alive who do not breathe cloud chemicals, which means they're free. They truly are the illuminated. So, through all this, it could be said that the Illuminati already control the entire world. How on earth are they doing this? They're not doing it on Earth. That's how. They do it all in space. The clouds they create cover the skies, stopping us from seeing them up there. Why do you think we haven't gone back to the moon? Because the Illuminati live there. They are not human. They are alien. It is why they hate us. Also, in space, there is no oxygen. Thus, there are no cloud chemicals. They can live and breathe as they freely desire, literally behind the scenes, controlling the world. But, if the Illuminati control everybody, who then controls the Illuminati? Saturn. Saturn is the man behind the curtain. He is the only evil power stronger than the Illuminati. The proof is in the heavy use of satanic lyrics in music. They are worshipping Saturn, and by spreading his music, so is everybody else. So why is Saturn doing this? He only wants one thing: total control over everything, and is using the Illuminati to get it. He wants to create a hell on earth by converting all humans to Satanism, thus increasing his power. The Illuminati communicate with him through their evil rituals, where they are told what to do and then go do it. These rituals always involve sacrifice. They are the sole reason why the Illuminati commits natural disasters and terrorist attacks. They are offering larger and larger sacrifices to Saturn, all to make him happy and grow his power. But the Illuminati are being deceived. They do not realize that in the end, after they have destroyed all humans, that they will have to kill themselves. They are being used by Saturn. They have been promised a new world order, but it is a lie. The only new world order the devil wants is the one where only he exists in it, where everybody else is dead and in hell. But how far can this go? If he becomes too powerful, it will mean the end of the world. This is the reason the world did not end on 2012. It was never meant to. It will instead end on 2102. Saturn will get to the point where his power outgrows his limits, causing the total destruction of everything. We cannot let this happen. We need to wake up. We can create a revolution. The only way for us to defeat this secret society is to build our own. Spread the knowledge that has been revealed to you. Saturn exists. The Illuminati exist. Clouds are not real. Justin Bieber is alive. This way, more people will wake up. If we choose love, we can defeat evil. We can truly breathe for the first time in our lives.
People out there, if you believe so strongly in your beliefs that these conspiracies are real, that the government is actually trying to hide them, keep at it. Keep researching. Keep following it. Keep on it. Don't stop. Get petitions. Get the word out there. And eventually, the truth will come out. Keep finding media, Don't be afraid. Go out there. Have a go, Find the truth. Let it free. Because the truth, at the end, the truth will come out. Whether they like it or not, the truth will be revealed. So keep at it.
There is only one question left to answer. Shall we be controlled, or shall we be in control? The choice is yours.